Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Quran Book Club. I have not started reading Surah 18, the Cave, Al-Kahf, yet. Although I'm reading my Quran has these little blurbs of information that give context for when the Surah was written or revealed. And I was reading this and I just felt like I needed to react to it. It says, no one's feet will move on Judgment Day until they are asked about four things: what they did in their youth, how they earned and spent their wealth, what they did with their knowledge, and how they spent their lives. Now, I feel like if these are the four criteria that God is judging us by, I think I'm doing fairly good. And I think everyone who tells me I need to stop with certain sins can knock it off. Because, number one, what I did in my youth, I feel like I was a fairly good kid. Fairly good kid. Maybe I'm still in my youth. Number two, how they earned and spent their wealth. Now, let me say, first of all, I feel like I earned my money in a very good for society way. For everyone who has asked what I do, I work with kids who have autism and I teach them developmental skills. So I feel like my role in society, I personally feel like is like a helper, a caregiver, a helper. I feel like I am helping my community every single day. And I don't do that for money. I just do it because I think it's a good thing to do. And I just think it's fun teaching little kids, especially when autistic kids are funny, you know? And how they spent their wealth. I try, without being tacky, and I try my best to give back when I can. I try not to spend my money on stupid things, although I do sometimes. What they did with their knowledge, I feel like I am someone who has always committed myself to learning as much as I can. And right now I'm sharing my knowledge with everybody, and everyone seems to be liking it. For how they spent their lives, I feel like I spent my life in a pretty I don't want to say God-honoring way, in terms of I don't pray to God all the time, and I don't go to church all the time, or I don't go to the mosque, or I don't really go to the temple all the time, but I feel like I do honor God in my actions. I feel like my actions align with the teachings of God from most religions I've read. I feel like my actions... personally, I feel like my relationship with God is good. I feel like God likes me. I feel like God respects me. I feel like God sees me and is like, yeah, she's doing good on this earth. She's doing good. We don't got... I feel like if God felt like I was doing bad on this earth, or if I was sinning severely, I feel like God would let me know. And I feel like in my gut and my heart, I feel like I've never felt ill will from God recently. So hopefully that continues to stay that way. But I thought that four criteria were interesting. What they did in their youth, how they earned and spent their wealth, what they did with their knowledge, and how they spent their lives. How do you guys feel about those four criteria? Do you feel like you're doing good on those criteria? Do you think God is judging you? Do you think God is happy with what you've done? What do you guys think? Yo, welcome back to Quran Book Club, Surah 18, Al-Kahf, the Cave. Warning to the disbelievers, this is verse 29. And say, O Prophet, this is the truth from your Lord. Whoever wills, let them believe, and whoever wills, let them disbelieve. So again, people can believe or not believe. It's just their actions are going to have consequences, but we're not forcing anybody to think anything, which I love. That is something that has been... As someone who grew up around a lot of Christians, that is something that is not echoed in the Christian faith. It is very much like you need to believe, you need to convert. So I love that we're giving people the choice. But I do love the Quran does spell out the consequences for not believing, but if that's your choice. Surely we have prepared for the wrongdoers a fire whose walls will completely surround them. This next line, when they speak about punishment and hell in the Quran, it is bar after bar after bar, I must say. When they cry for aid, they will be aided with water like molten metal, which will burn their faces. What a horrible drink. And what a terrible place to rest. I absolutely love that they're always like, you can drink molten metal, you can drink pus, all of these terrible, it is bar for bar for bar. You will be... What was it? One, it was something about you will be branded with the money that you hoarded or something. It's crazy the way that they spell out these punishments, and they are bars. Also, it says, Reward for the believers. This is verse 30. As for those who believe and do good, we certainly never deny the rewards of those who are best in deeds. Now, whenever it is talking about being a believer, it always seems to say, we will reward those who do good. We will reward those who believe and do good. Believe and do good. It never really mentions like following all of the rules that are kind of laid out. It just says doing good. And I think doing good, so obviously it's important to follow the rules, and obviously it's important to do good and to live a non-haram life. But what is more important? Doing good for others, or making sure you're not living a haram life, right? Because I can spend my entire life giving to charity and helping others and helping orphans and supporting widows, but I can drink alcohol and eat pork all day long. Or I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who make it a very big point to follow all the rules. Don't eat pork, don't drink, don't smoke, don't listen to music, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. But then are they following the actual important teachings of like give to the community and don't cast judgment and don't live arrogantly and give grace and only let Allah judge? Because obviously we're all sinners and obviously nobody is perfect. So which one is more important to follow in your opinion? Because in my opinion, I feel like it's more important to follow the guidelines to be good than it is necessarily to make sure you're you're following all the haram rules. In my opinion, you can live a more godly life by supporting the people around you and by doing good and by being non-judgmental than you can by necessarily making sure you don't eat pork for your whole life. Now, obviously there's a blend to both and a balance of both, but I'm just curious which ones are more important do you feel like? Obviously they're all important, but I don't know, like, do you see what I'm saying? Right here, story 2, the owner of the 2 gardens. Give them, O prophet, an example of 2 men. To the disbelieving one, we gave 2 gardens of grapevines, which we surrounded with palm trees and placed various crops in between. Each garden yielded all its produce, never falling short, and we caused the river to flow between them. He also had other resources. The footnote claims silver and gold as well. So he boasted to a poor companion. See, again, now we're being arrogant, which to me is a huge sin. That's a bigger sin than being gay, in my opinion. So he boasted to a poor companion of his while conversing with him, I am greater than you in wealth and superior in manpower. Yeah, and you're arrogant. And you're, arrogance is like the most annoying thing in the world to me. He entered the property while wronging his soul, saying, I do not think that this will ever perish, nor do I think the hour will ever come. And in fact, I am returned to my Lord, and I will definitely get a far better outcome than all this. Oh, okay, Mr. Arrogant, let's see what God has to say about that. I guarantee you, because I'm doing this in real time this time, I bet you, because the next verse is titled The Rebuttal, I bet you God has a plan for him. Poor guy kind of eats him up, actually. His believing companion replied while conversing with him, do you disbelieve in the one who created you from dust, then developed you from a sperm drop and formed you into a man? But as for me, he is my God, my Lord, and I will never associate anyone with my Lord in worship. If only you had said upon entering your property, this is what God has willed. There is no power except God. Even though you see me inferior to you in wealth and offspring, perhaps my Lord will grant me something better than your garden and send down upon your garden a thunderbolt from the sky, turning it into a barren waste. Or its water may sink into the earth, and then you will never be able to seek it out. And I hope he's right, because how dare you be arrogant and talk to... First of all, you got 2 gardens full of food, and you want to talk about, I got more than you, ha ha ha. How about you give that man a fruit? How about you give him a cup of water and a watermelon? Huh? And so all his produce was totally ruined, and he started to wring his hands for all he had spent on it. While it collapsed on the trestles, he cried, Alas, I wish I had never associated anyone with my Lord in worship. And he had no manpower to help him against God, nor could he even help himself. Well, that's what you get for being arrogant. That's what you get for thinking you're better than someone and being like, I get all this stuff. Again, you could have just been nice and good and given that man some fruit. But you wanted to be arrogant. Oh, this is kind of crazy. Judgment Day, verse 47. Beware of the day we will blow the mountains away, and you will see the earth laid bare. And we will gather all humankind, leaving none behind. They will be presented before your Lord in rows, and the deniers will be told, you have surely returned to us all alone, and we created you the first time, although you always claimed that we would never appoint a time for your return. And the record of deeds will be laid open, and you will see the wicked in fear of what is written in it. They will cry, woe to us! What kind of record is this that does not leave any sin, small or large, unlisted? They will find whatever they did present before them, and your Lord will never wrong anyone. Getting rid of the mountains on Judgment Day? Crazy. Seeing the earth with no landmarks? Crazy to think about. Again, having to read every single sin you ever committed in front of God and everybody is crazy. That's a little scary. This one's kind of crazy too. He says, and remember Ilbis, who was one of the jinn, but he rebelled against the command of his Lord? Would you then take him and his descendants as patrons instead of me, although they are your enemy? You're going to follow Satan instead of me, when we all know Satan is like bad guy number one. Would you then, what an evil alternative for the wrongdoers to choose. Like, what a crazy God to follow. What a crazy person to follow. Satan, really? Like, really? And then God's talking about, and I sent down this Quran for you guys to learn from, and y'all are going to mock it. Y'all are going to mock it and disbelieve in it. He says, we do not send the messengers except for as deliverers of good news and warners. And you disbelievers argue in falsehood, hoping to discredit the truth and making a mockery of my revelations. And who does more wrong than those who, when reminded of the Lord's revelations, turn away from them and forget what their own hands have done? He's like, I'm telling you over and over again, and you're disagreeing, and you're turning away from me, and you're mad at me for punishing you? You're mad at me? I told you. I gave you the rule book. And God does not hasten punishment. He waits for Judgment Day. It says, your Lord is all forgiving, full of mercy. If he were to seize them immediately for the sins they commit, he would have certainly hastened their punishment. But they have an appointed time from which they will find no refuge. Those are the societies we destroyed when they persisted in wrong, and we set a time for their destruction. So, you're just going to have to wait. And again, because as soon as you sin, if God just sent you to hell immediately for sinning, you would not have time to repent. You would not be able to turn from him. You would not be able to learn from your mistakes. And then he wouldn't really be a merciful God, in my opinion. If he just, if you committed a gigantic sin and he just immediately killed you and sent you to hell, you didn't even have time to find God at that point. You know what I mean? You didn't even have time to learn. Assalamu alaikum. We are still in Quran Book Club, Surah 18, Al-Kahf, the cave. We only have 3 more pages left, so let's finish it up. Okay, now we are on story 3 of this surah, Moses and Al-Qadir. Verse 60 says, and remember when Moses said to his young assistant, I will never give up until I reach the junction of the 2 seas, even if I travel for ages. There is a reference to a footnote. It says, it is reported in an authentic narration collected by Bukhari that a man approached Moses after he gave a talk and asked him, who is the most knowledgeable person on this earth? Moses responds with, that would be me, which is a bold claim. To say you're the most knowledgeable man on earth is bold. So God revealed to Moses that he should not have said this. Fair enough. And there was in fact someone who was more knowledgeable than him. Moses was commanded to travel to meet this man named Al-Qadir at the junction of the 2 seas. So yeah, first of all, to say, who knows the most in the world? Me? That's crazy to say. And God's being merciful. He said, you probably shouldn't have said that. How about you go meet Al-Qadir, who is a little bit smarter than you? So this is kind of crazy, actually. So they make it there. They make it to the junction of the 2 seas, and Moses says, all right, I'm hungry. Someone grab the salted fish that we brought so we can eat it. This guy says, about that, remember when we rested by the rock? I forgot the fish. I did forget our salted fish, and it made its way into the sea. And he also says, nobody made me forget to mention this except Satan. Moses said, that is exactly what we were looking for, so they returned retracing their footsteps. And I was like, they're going to go back all the way to that rock to get the fish? That's kind of, okay, wow. But it clarifies that Moses was given a sign that when he and his assistant lost their food, this would be the place where they would find the man of knowledge. So actually, I guess it's kind of great that they lost their fish because they're about to find this man of knowledge. And I want to know what Al-Qadir has to say. So Moses is like, hey man, he says, may I follow you provided that you teach me some of the right guidance you have been taught. Al-Qadir says, you certainly cannot be patient enough with me. And how can you be patient with what is beyond your realm of knowledge? Moses assured him, you will find me patient, inshallah, and I will not disobey any of your orders. Al-Qadir responds, then if you follow me, do not question me about anything until I myself clarify it for you. So he says, I'll talk to you, but don't be asking questions, and don't be trying to call me out, because I'll clarify it myself if it needs to be clarified. Period. Set the groundwork. Moses immediately doesn't listen. Immediately. They get on a boat. They set out, but after they had boarded a ship, Al-Qadir made a hole in the boat. Moses protested, have you done this to drown its people? You have certainly done a terrible thing. Al-Qadir says, did I not say that you cannot have patience with me? And again, did I really not just, this is not what it says, but I'm saying, did it not, I just said, do not question me about anything until I myself clarify it for you. So this is a test and Moses fails. Moses pleads, excuse me for forgetting and do not be hard on me. So he's like, oh, my bad, dude, sorry. Clearly there is an intention here. If I was Moses, though, I'd be like, why is there a hole in the boat? I'd be like, there's a hole, we might want to fix that first. So I understand Moses' line of thinking here. Okay, actually, I'm starting to understand Moses a little bit more. He does it again immediately. So they proceeded until they came across a boy, and the man killed him. Moses protested, have you killed an innocent soul who killed no one? You have certainly done a horrible thing. This is time number 2 that he disregards what Al-Qadir said about questioning him. But I'd be like, bro, the Quran literally says do not kill innocent people for no reason. So I'd be like, bro, what are you doing? Al-Qadir answered, did I not tell you that you cannot have patience with me? He already knew this. He knew that Moses would do this. Moses replies, if I ever question you about anything after this, then do not keep me in your company, for by then I would have given you enough of an excuse. So Moses is like, you know what, dude? My bad. If I do this again, you can just throw me overboard, I guess. Curious what the end goal is here. Man, Moses cannot keep his mouth shut. So they moved on until they came to a people of a town. They asked them for food, but the people refused to give them hospitality, which is rude. I read in the Quran that's very rude, not to be hospitable towards people. There they found a wall ready to collapse. Al-Qadir said it right. He fixed the wall for free. Moses protested, if you wanted, you could have demanded a fee for this, bro. Like, you could have gotten some money for fixing this. Al-Qadir says, all done. This is the parting of our ways. I will explain to you what you could not bear patiently. Moses, keep your mouth shut. Like, that one. Listen, the hole in the boy, I was Moses. I would have done the same thing. The wall, to tell the man, you could have made some money from this instead of just being nice, which is like what the whole point of the Quran is to just be nice and not, the money is not important. He should have kept his mouth shut on that one. I would have. Inshallah, I would have kept my mouth shut. Al-Qadir sets the record straight. He says, this is verse 79. As for the ship, it belonged to some poor people working at sea, so I intended to damage it, for there was a tyrant king ahead of them who seizes every good ship by force. So he said, if I didn't damage this boat, the boat would have been stolen, and we would have been in big trouble, dude. Yeah, so I'm playing chess here. I'm thinking 5 steps ahead. I'm playing chess. As for the boy, his parents were true believers, and we feared that he would pressure them into defiance and disbelief. So we hoped that their Lord would give them another more virtuous and caring in his place. Okay. I don't know how I feel about that one. You killed him because you felt like he was going to convince his parents not to believe. But in my opinion, I think that his parents should just be strong believers in the face of denial. But I didn't write this book, and I'm not Al-Qadir, and I'm not questioning him. I learned my lesson from Moses, so I'm keeping my mouth shut. And as for the wall, it belonged to 2 orphan boys in the city, and under the wall was a treasure that belonged to him. And their father had been a righteous man. So your Lord willed that these children should come of age and retrieve their treasure as a mercy from your Lord. I did not do it all on my own. This is the explanation of what you could not bear patiently. And then the footnote says, the prophet commented on the story, I wish Moses had been more patient so we could learn from that wise man. I mean, he was playing chess here. He really was. He was playing chess here. Al-Qadir was. I just finished it, and I didn't really feel the need to expand on story 4, which is Zulkarnain. He basically travels from the east to the west and sees a bunch of different people. And there's one part where he goes to this city and there are two wild men, Gog and Magog. I love those names, Gog and Magog. They're wild men who are spreading corruption throughout the land. The people ask him, and this kind of does tie back into the story of Moses and Al-Kahf. The people say, can you please build a wall between us and them? We'll pay you. He says, what the Lord has provided me is far better, but assist me with resources and I'll build a barrier for you and them. So I don't need money. I don't need money. What God provides me is better than money. Money is useless. Really. I mean, really. Money's fake, other than what we need it for in this life that is set up by corrupt people. We don't really need money. He says, just give me the resources and I'll build it for you. And he does. He builds them a wall of iron and he pours molten copper over it so that they cannot pass it. He says he declared, this is mercy from my Lord, but when the promise of my Lord comes to pass, he will level it to the ground, and my Lord's promise is ever true. On that day we will let them surge like waves over one another. Later the trumpet will be blown, and we will gather all the people together for Judgment Day. Don't be motivated by money. And again, just like when Moses was like, you could have gotten paid for fixing that wall. Bro, you could have gotten paid to build that wall. Guess what? That's not the point. The point isn't to make money. Because what did Allah say? He's in the beginning of Surah Al-Kahf. And the blurb, it says, the 4 criteria for Judgment Day. What they did in their youth. How they earned and spent their wealth. If someone says, these people are going to hurt us, can you please help us build a wall? We'll pay you. You take all their money to help protect them. Did you do a good deed? Or did you take a bunch of money from a bunch of people? When really the good deed is helping protect them in the first place. Really the good deed is being kind to others. And even turning down the reward and the offer. That's more important than doing it for money. That's honestly getting you more good deeds because you just helped these people out of the kindness of your own heart. You didn't even accept money from them. When Moses says you could have got money for that, Al-Kahf is like, I'm just doing this to help out these 2 boys and to fix the wall, really. I don't need money. We don't need money. Don't do things for money. Do things because they should be done. And that is something that is reflected in the Bhagavad Gita. Don't have other people do your work. Do your work because it needs to be done. Don't do it for money. Don't do it for an outside motivation or a reward, which is also listed in the Bhagavad Gita. Just do it because it's good and it should be done. And that's my 10 minutes. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Welcome back to Quran Book Club, Surah 18, Al-Kahf, the cave. Now, usually what I do is I read the verse. As of lately, I read the whole surah, take notes, and then go back and make my points. But this time, I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to just react as I read because there's just a lot to get into already, and we're only 12 verses in. Verses 1 through 5, the Quran loves to call out the Christians and this Jesus, Son of God thing, and it honestly is really funny to me. It says, all praises for God who has revealed the book to his servant, Muhammad, allowing no crookedness in it, making it perfectly upright to warn the disbelievers of a severe torment from him, to give good news to the believers who do good, that they will have a fine reward, in which they will remain forever, and to warn those who claim God has offspring, to warn them they have no knowledge of this, nor did their forefathers. What a terrible claim that comes out of their mouths. They say nothing but lies. Wow. Calling them out. That is calling them out. Okay, so verses 9 through 12, we're starting the story 1, People of the Cave. Apparently, based on what I've read so far, these people lived in Rome during the year 250, and the Roman Empire, so the pagans and the Roman Empire was coming after the Muslims. Oh, sorry, this is a group of Christian youths, my bad. This is the year 250. It says, the story of Christian youths who hid inside a cave outside of the city to escape persecutions at the hands of the pagans. Like, now we're killing people? During the reign of the Roman Empire, Decius. The Quran does not give an exact number of youth. So basically, they go and they hide in this cave to escape persecution, and then God causes them to fall asleep for a long time, and then he wakes up the 2 groups, and I think they're about to argue over how long they've been in the cave for. Okay, now this I want to get into. We relate to you, O prophet, their story and truth. They were youths who truly believed in their Lord, and we increased them in guidance, and we strengthened their hearts when they stood up and declared, Our Lord is the Lord of the heavens and the earth. We will never call upon any god besides him, or we would truly be uttering an outrageous lie. Then they said to one another, These people of ours have taken gods besides him. Why do they not produce a clear proof of them? Who then does more wrong than those who fabricate lies against God? Now my question is, why do we need proof? If we should believe just to believe, why do we necessarily need proof that the pagan gods are real? Why do we even necessarily need proof that Allah is real? Shouldn't we just believe? Now that's my question. Since you have distanced yourselves from them and what they worship besides God, take refuge in the cave. Your Lord will extend his mercy to you and accommodate you in your new ordeal. Okay, so this is cool. While they're sleeping, God, their eyes stay open so they look awake. God keeps them turning over so they don't get bed sores, and also their hair continues to grow long. He then wakes them up, and they say, How long have we been asleep? Some people say perhaps a day or part of the day. They said to one another, Your Lord knows best how long you have remained, so send one of you with these silver coins of yours to the city, and let him find food which is the purest, then bring back provisions from it. Let him be exceptionally cautious, and do not let him give you away. For indeed, if they find out about you, they will stone you to death or force you back into their faith, and then you will never succeed. Why are we forcing people to believe things? I don't understand that. In Islam, it seems that nobody's ever forced to believe in Allah. Hopefully, I'm sure if we start looking at specific families and specific areas, I'm sure it gets a little less than that. Like a little, do this because that's what we believe in. But Christians are always like, I was reading the Quran one day and a Jehovah's Witness came to my door and was like, so you want to learn about Jehovah? Da, 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 da. I have never once in my life ever had a Muslim be like, you should read the Quran. Never in my life has any Muslim ever been like, you should come to our mosque. You should read the Quran. You should convert. Now people in my comments are saying to convert, but this is the internet. That's different. Never in real life has anyone ever said that to me. Christians are always like, you need to change to our faith. You need to convert to Christianity. You need to believe in Jesus Christ. You need to believe in God. The pagans are apparently going to force them back into their faith. Why are we forcing people into a faith? Even throughout this book, people are like, you can believe or not believe. You're just going to get punished if you don't believe. And that's on you, babe. So, this cave story is interesting. Wait a minute. That is how we cause them to be discovered so that their people might know that God's promise of resurrection is true. They were discovered. When the people disputed with each other about the case of the youth after their death, they died. Build a structure around them. Their Lord knows best about them. Those who prevailed in the matter said, we will surely build a place of worship over them. Now that's nice, but we just went from going into the city to find food to now they're all dead? That was like literally verse 20 to verse 21. Wait, what happened? People fighting over how many there was. Verse 23 I love. It says, and never say of anything, I will definitely do this tomorrow, without adding, if God so wills, inshallah. But if you forget, then remember your Lord and say, I trust my Lord will guide me to what is more right than this. I kind of like that because I've kind of already started doing that before I read that, of like, you don't just speak for God. You know what I mean? Because like I'll be saying, like I'll be talking to people and I'll be like, like, I don't know, like, if God wills it, I suppose. Like, I guess I can't, if God will, like, I don't know. I was saying things like, when I prayed for the LGBT Muslims, I was like, inshallah, God grants them peace. Because I can't just say God grant them peace. Like, who am I to tell God what to do? Me. Okay? Who am I to tell God what to do? So I do like that saying, if God wills it, because at that point, like, you can't just speak for God. And also, if you say, I will definitely do this tomorrow, and you don't, like, technically you just lied. So, inshallah, I'll do this tomorrow. I like that. I do like that. Hold up. They spent 300 years in the cave. it says actually 309 years because the Islamic calendar goes by the moon, which I think we should be going the calendar by the moon. Why are we not going the calendar by the moon? That makes more sense to me. God knows how long they say. 309 years in the cave is crazy, actually. And they were talking about, I feel like we were in there for a day, half a day. 309 years? How did they die? I love this too. Recite what has been revealed to you from this book of your Lord. None can change his words, nor can you find any refuge besides him. I did not know about this until Quran Book Club happened. I did not know that Muslims, like, verbally memorize and recite the Quran and have been doing so without changing a single sound of it since it was revealed by Muhammad, peace be upon him. That is so beyond cool to me. The fact that, like, generation after generation after generation, 1,000 years after 1,000 years, people are still doing this is so cool to me. Christians could never. I did not, like, it's just so cool that, like, I mean, yeah, the word could not be corrupted. If American Muslims are reciting the exact same verbal Quran that Arabic Muslims are in the same place, the same exact way that, you know, Bengali and Pakistani Muslims are, that is so beyond cool to me. And that is, I guess, a way to preserve the actual word since it was revealed. If it has never been telephoned, because you got to think, like, there are hundreds of thousands of people memorizing this throughout every generation. There are hundreds of thousands of people doing it. Millions, probably millions of people doing this. Like, if one pastor, like, changed the word of God in the Bible and it, you know, got translated and, like, kept, you could just do that. But if everybody is verbally saying, and then one person starts going off script, everyone else can be like, whoa, that's not how it goes. That is so beyond cool to me. And I did not know that you guys did that, and that is so cool. Do not let your eyes look beyond them, desiring the luxuries of this worldly life. I think that is another big tie into Hinduism for me, of this, like, do not get wrapped up in this worldly life and the luxuries and desires of the world. Because earth is not your final resting place. Bliss is, or nirvana is, or paradise or heaven is. So don't get wrapped up in this worldly life, because that's not the point.